Please subscribe, like, and share. It really helps us out. And of course, if you have any questions, comment below and we will answer you as soon as we can. Welcome to another video in our series on IGCSE History. In today's lesson, an overview of Weimar and Nazi Germany, from 1918 to 1945. If you haven't seen our previous videos, click on the card above.
Today we're going to start a new series on Weimar and Nazi Germany between 1918 and 1939. Germany became democratic after World War I, and after a troubled start, by 1929 Weimar was more stable and prosperous. Firstly, let's look at the Weimar Republic between 1918 and 1929. After World War I, Germany became democratic. All adult Germans were able to vote, and the system of proportional representation meant a wide range of views were given a voice in Parliament. There was also an elected president instead of the Kaiser. However, Germany still faced problems. The Treaty of Versailles had embarrassed Germany, as the war guilt clause had to be accepted, as did military restrictions. Reparations were huge, and there was political and economic instability. In the first 4 years of the Weimar Republic, there were 3 serious attempts to overthrow the government. In 1923, there was also a hyperinflation crisis that left Germany's currency worthless. Between 1924 and 1929, Germany did better. The politician Gustav Stresemann arranged American loans, and Germany could pay reparations again. By the late 1920s, the Weimar Republic was a key member of the League of Nations, and its culture was modern and vibrant. The government was still quite unstable, but this was not as much of a problem in a time of greater wealth, which the loans had helped create. The Nazi Party had been founded in 1920, and Hitler became its leader soon after. During the hyperinflation crisis, Hitler decided to try and seize power in the Munich Putsch in 1923. He was jailed briefly, and after this promised to win power only through elections. The Nazi Party membership grew, but didn't have very many seats in Parliament by 1928, as people were less likely to vote for extreme parties in times of stability. In 1929, the Wall Street crash brought a worldwide depression. The loans given to Germany were recalled and the economy collapsed. Unemployment rocketed, poverty soared, and Germans became desperate. This led to a chain of events that ended in the destruction of German democracy. Firstly, with the government unable to win majority in the Reichstag, laws could only be passed by presidential decree. As a result, not enough action was taken to tackle the economic and social consequences of the Great Depression, and Germans increasingly began to look to the political extremes for answers. Secondly, the Nazis benefited from this the most. As a combination of policies with widespread appeal, a charismatic leader in Hitler, and the violence of the SA helped make them the largest party in the Reichstag by the middle of 1932. Thirdly, in January 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor by President Hindenburg. Hitler quickly set about dismantling German democracy. He forced the passing of the Enabling Act through the Reichstag, which gave him unlimited powers for 4 years. He then eliminated any potential sources of opposition, other political parties, trade unions, and even Ernst Röhm, the leader of the SA. By the time President Hindenburg died in August 1934, Hitler was able to declare himself Führer and had absolute power in Germany. Nazi Germany was a totalitarian state, which means that the government sought to control every aspect of life. To understand how Germans experienced this, one has to consider how control was established. Firstly, through the police state, second, by removal of opposition, and thirdly, by propaganda and censorship, and how everyday life in society was influenced with Nazi ideals. So let's have a look at this police state. Hitler used 3 weapons to control the German people. The Schutzstaffel or SS. This organization was responsible for ensuring that the population remained under control and any potential threats to the Nazis were dealt with. It oversaw the Gestapo, or secret police, which spied on ordinary Germans, and it ran concentration camps where enemies of the state were sent. Secondly, control of the legal system. All judges had to swear an oath of loyalty to the Führer, and all lawyers had to join the Nazi Lawyers Association. It was made harder to defend people placed on trial for suspected crimes, and the death penalty was used much more widely than before. Lastly, propaganda and censorship. Joseph Goebbels ran the Ministry of Propaganda, whose job it was to convince the German people to embrace Nazi rule. This was achieved through control of the press, radio and the arts, and through rallies and sporting events. The police state and laws protected the Nazis against opposition. It is difficult to know how large opposition to the Nazis was, because fear and intimidation stopped many from openly opposing them. Despite this, limited numbers of people did oppose them. Religious figures, old political opponents, and youth groups like the Edelweiss Pirates. Alongside control and suppression, the Nazis tried to influence every part of German life. Firstly, let's look at the economy. Hitler claimed that it had dramatically reduced unemployment figures under the Nazis. Certainly, rearmament created jobs, but national service meant young men were not counted as being unemployed any longer. Women and Jews were left out of the figures altogether. Therefore, we can't be sure of how many people truly found jobs under the Nazis. However, living standards for working class Germans did not really improve, and workers were expected to take part in Nazi party schemes like Strength Through Joy, which gave them cheap holidays in return for giving up their trade union rights. The Nazis aspired to achieve autarky, or economic self-sufficiency, but in general the economy was geared towards preparations for a future war. As such, workers were expected to work long hours for modest pay and to toe the line. Secondly, let's look at social policy. The Nazi social policy affected 2 groups in society the most: women and the young people. Women were expected to embrace a life towards the 3 Ks of Kinder, Kultur and Kirche, or children, kitchen and church. It was their duty to produce and raise children in order to secure the future of the Reich. They were encouraged to give up work and receive loans and awards for having lots of children. Young people were a particular target for the Nazis' propaganda, as they represented the future. The school curriculum was altered to promote Nazi ideology, and young people were expected to join the Nazi youth organisations such as the Hitler Youth or the League of German Maidens. In addition, the Nazis fought to control or limit the influence of Christianity. They set up an official state church called the Reich Church, which adopted Protestant teachings to Nazis' ideology. Also, despite signing a concordat with the Pope in 1933, in which Hitler promised to leave the Catholic Church alone if it stayed out of politics, the Nazis attempted to interfere with it and place restrictions on worship. Thirdly, persecution. Nazi ideology centered on the belief that the Aryan of Northern Europe was superior to all others, and that some races were subhuman. Nazis also believed any weaknesses in the Aryan race, such as disabled people, should be weeded out to maintain racial purity. Therefore, many groups who the Nazis did not like were targeted and persecuted. This was done in many different ways: euthanasia, imprisonment in concentration camps, and loss of civil rights. The groups targeted most by this persecution were the Jews. Under the Nazis, Jews in Germany had their rights gradually taken away, including their German citizenship. During World War II, this deteriorated further, and the Holocaust saw 6 million Jews from across Nazi-occupied Europe murdered. Here is a tip for the exam. Remember the different parts of this period by remembering the mnemonic: in Germany rose the Nazis. So, from 1918 to 1924, instability. 1924 to 1929, the golden years. 1929 to 1933, the rise of Hitler. And 1933 to 1945, Nazi rule.
Thank you for watching our video. Please like, subscribe and share. And comment below so we can clarify things for you.